Is your court-ordered parenting plan designed to survive the pandemic? If it is, then are you and your co-parent in a relationship that will allow your co-parenting relationship to survive the pandemic? Today, we are going to talk about parenting plans, and we're going to cover the three aspects of court-ordered parenting plans that come into the most conflict and the most controversy in the event of an emergency. During these unprecedented times that we're experiencing right now, there is no telling what is really going to happen in the court system with regards to how you manage these emergencies with your court-ordered parenting plan. Who is this for? If you are somebody who has a court-ordered parenting plan in the state of Missouri, then this information is for you. This information may be applicable outside the state of Missouri. However, I do not know because I am an attorney and I'm only licensed in Missouri. So all this information is going to be based on Missouri parenting plans, specifically the types of orders that come out of St. Louis County. So who am I? My name is Rachna Lean. I am the owner of the Lean Law Firm, and I focus on doing family law for families with children. I focus primarily on helping parents settle divorce and custody cases so that they can have an effective parenting plan that moves forward with a good, healthy co-parent relationship. I'm teaching this class today and I'm broadcasting this out at no charge on social media and on YouTube because I want to make sure that you don't get caught in a rut. Because, like I said, these are unprecedented times that we have been facing, and we don't actually know how the court is going to respond to deviations in parenting plans that took place during the pandemic. So I want to make sure that you are prepared, that you get all your ducks in a row before something goes wrong. And I want to make sure you know what this is going to look like for you and for your parenting plan once the lockdown is lifted and once the pandemic is over. Because we're not just going to go back to the same old normal world we had before. We're going to go back to an improved world. And we want to make sure that your family and your court documents improve along with it. So let's jump in. Let's talk about the three areas of parenting plans that are most impacted by emergencies right now, specifically the COVID-19 pandemic, and what you should be doing to make sure that you have everything as clear cut and kosher as possible. So the first thing that comes up with, or the first thing that came up with all of my clients once the pandemic hit was the exchange location. Lots of people exchange children at school. They have a system set up where one parent will drop the child off at school and the other parent will pick the child up. And that's how they do their exchanges for visitation. Right now, kids aren't in school. In Missouri, schools have all been canceled through the end of the school year, which means, let's see, we're at April, mid-April right now. So we have at least 6 more weeks that the children are going to be at home for school until those summer schedules kick in. So first thing you need to do is figure out your exchange location. Now, if your exchange location is not your child's school or daycare provider or some other public place, then you don't need to worry about this. But if it is, and this is most common for parents who have some kind of dispute, who need to minimize contact with each other, if your exchange location is your child's school or daycare provider, you need to choose an alternate location. You need to make sure that you choose a location that is safe, a location that is practical, and a location that is consistent. Now, you're going to want to check your counties and your state's stay-at-home orders that came out to make sure that you're in compliance if you're choosing a public place to do your exchange. If in doubt, if there's a history of domestic violence, or if you have any safety concerns during your exchange, then I recommend that you choose to exchange in the parking lot of a police station or a fire department, some place where you know there will be emergency personnel at least nearby, just in case of an incident. If not, if you need to choose another public place, then places like grocery stores and gas stations make excellent exchange locations. And right now, especially since we're all leaving the house on a very limited basis, exchanging at a place like that will also give you a chance to go run some of those necessary errands at the same time that you're making the exchange. So it minimizes your contact with the outside world. Otherwise, of course, another option is always to do exchanges at one of your houses. When you are doing this, or one of your homes, when you do this, make sure that you're dropping off curbside if possible, pulling into the driveway. Try to minimize actually going up to and going inside each other's homes, even if you guys are on really good terms. Again, just to stay in compliance with those stay-at-home orders as much as possible. But the first thing you want to address, if you haven't addressed it already, is the exchange location. For those of you who have different exchange locations during the school year than you do over the summer, and this will be very common for people exchanging at schools especially because schools are not in session over the summer, it wouldn't hurt if you're able to use the exchange location that's already mapped out in your parenting plan for summer visits. And the reason for that is just because it provides more consistency for your kids. If you can transition to using that new exchange location just a little sooner than you otherwise would, it'll at least remain a consistent location then for them throughout the summer until school starts again next fall. So if you haven't already, make sure you pick another safe, neutral exchange location that's going to work and that's not going to violate those stay-at-home orders. Okay. All right. The next one, while we're talking about exchanges, let's move right into visitation. Is your visitation schedule still practical? If you're listening to this, chances are it probably is not. Again, those stay-at-home orders can be brutal, and exchanging a child back and forth every day just may not be safe, if nothing else. So what changes have you made? Have you already made changes to your visitation schedule to accommodate the lockdown? If not, do you need to make changes for the next 6 weeks or so? While schools are closed, so that you can both be working from home efficiently if that's what you're doing, or to make sure that you guys are keeping yourselves and your families safe. So do you need to change your visitation schedule? If you do, you absolutely need to document the changes to your visitation schedule, because so many disputes in court come up simply because they don't have an agreed upon visitation schedule and they're not following the one that's court ordered. And if you're not following the court ordered visitation schedule, then there's really nothing that the court can do to help you in most cases because you don't have a written agreement. I just put a link up on the screen. leanlawfirm.com/COVID-19 is where you can go right now to get a set of emergency forms to document any changes to your visitation schedule. And we'll talk more about that in a little bit too. But check your visitation schedule. Is it practical? Is it safe? If it's not, is there an agreement that you and the co-parent can come to change that visitation schedule to make it more practical and to make it more safe during the lockdown? The last thing, of course, is child support. And I'll be honest with you, we don't know what's going to happen with child support because the job market has been crazy. The unemployment rate skyrocketed very quickly with all the different government programs that were coming out, and we just don't know what's going to happen. So here's what I'm going to tell you. If you make a change to child support, make sure you make it by consent. If you're the parent paying support, make sure you have the written consent of the other parent if you decide that you need to pay a lower amount temporarily. If you are the parent receiving support, you need to make sure that you are receiving what is in your court order unless you have agreed otherwise. Now, child support is one of those things. It is calculated based on the income of each parent. But that's not just the temporary income, it is the long term income over the course of usually a taxable year. So if you were furloughed, if you lose your job just temporarily, that may not impact child support quite as much as if you're laid off and you don't have any sort of benefits or income over the course of several months. Child support cannot be changed by consent in the state of Missouri. You can agree to something. A written document could be evidence to potentially present at a hearing or a trial about child support payments, but the only way to actually officially change child support is to have a court order. So what you want to do in an emergency situation, get that document in writing, documenting any agreed upon changes in child support. Make sure you include when the change starts and when the change ends. Then, once things settle down and once you're able to talk to your lawyer, give them a call and talk to them about child support, because especially if you're the one paying that child support, you need to make sure you get a documented court order that changes the amount you're paying if you're not able to continue making the payments that were ordered before that. So these are the three issues: visitation schedules, exchange locations, and child support. And here's the moral of the story. No matter what changes you need to make to your parenting plan during the pandemic or during any emergency that may come up later, you need to make sure that you document it. Document absolutely everything in writing. And honestly, this is good advice just in family court in general, is to document everything. But right now, while we're dealing with these unprecedented times, and because we don't know exactly how the law is going to handle it and how the courts are going to respond, it is even more important for you to document what is going on and any changes that you agree to make. leanlawfirm.com/COVID/19. If you go online to that website, fill out the form with your name and email address. I have already prepared for you a packet of emergency forms to help you document the changes in these three areas. It'll walk you through exactly what it is you need to consider. It gives you a one-page document for each area to document your changes and a place for each parent to sign so that you know you have a signed agreement in writing. Then those agreements are really easy to take to your lawyer so that they can look at them, they can see what you've agreed to, and they can work with you to see if you need any actual legal changes to your parenting plan or to your other court orders as a result of the pandemic. A couple questions that have come in since I posted that I was going to go live that I want to make sure you guys get the answers to. The first one is, how do you know if you've covered all the areas that you need to cover? And the answer is you don't. You honestly don't necessarily know. But if you are doing something that works for you, that is the best way to find out. So if there's an aspect of your parenting plan that's working, then keep doing it. There's absolutely no need to change it. If there's something that's not working, then that needs to be changed. And that's something that you need to agree to. I can't stress enough, when you make a change without a court order, you and your co-parent need to agree to that change. So if you didn't cover all your bases, if you didn't smooth out all the wrinkles in your parenting plan when the pandemic started, you need to do it now. Because you need to do it now, you need to get it in writing, you need to get that documentation and get it done before the lockdown is lifted. That way you know exactly where you're at and where you have been while the stay-at-home orders were in place. Another question I got was, what should you do to be prepared as we move back to normal life? And that is a great question, because we don't know what our new normal is going to look like. For many of you, you will be able to go back to your court-ordered parenting plan exactly the way it's written once the stay-home orders are lifted, and that's going to work for you seamlessly. For others, you're going to see that your family has grown during the pandemic. And I don't necessarily mean grown has gotten larger, but your family has grown in terms of what they need and what they expect. And your court ordered parenting plan may not be the best thing anymore, and it may no longer be in the best interest of your children. So, if that's the case, then you need to talk with your lawyer right away and see about modifying your parenting plan to make sure that it's going to be what you need for your family once the lockdown is lifted and your family is ready to thrive again. Um, what if I did something in desperate times that could open me up to legal action? I got this question from more than one person. And here's the answer. If you already did something, there's not a whole lot you can do. What you need to do at this point, if you think you did something that may result in you being held in contempt of court because you violated your court order, you need to talk to your attorney right away. You need to talk to your lawyer. You need to make sure you tell them exactly what you did and why you did it, so that they can help you get ahead of the situation instead of waiting until somebody files a motion for contempt and then all of a sudden you're on the defensive side trying to justify your past actions. Talk to your lawyer now if you have any questions about what you have done to help your family accommodate to the pandemic and to these new situations. If you have any other questions, feel free to shout them out below or visit leanlawfirm.com and learn and contact us to get your own one-on-one consultation so that we can talk specifically about your situation. But moral of the story, in the pandemic and in any major emergency, you must document absolutely everything. Go to leanlawfirm.com/COVID-19 to get your free set of emergency forms to make sure that you have the resources you need to go ahead and document your changes. Again, I'm Rachna with the Lean Law Firm, and I am here because I care about you, I care about your family, and I want to help you get through this time and come out flourishing this summer. Thanks, everybody.